noise. Um, okay, we're live now.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brenda, so happy to have you today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you all.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's a great topic. It's very meaningful. And so I want to welcome everybody out there. Hopefully, you're finding yourself in the right place and getting your last run to the coffee maker or tea or water, to bring with you for this conversation today. So you have a couple minutes. We are on a little bit early so you could get all settled in. So hopefully you're having a good start to your day. Did you have a good start to your day, Brenda?
I did. I have a bit of a wonky day today. I got in yesterday in the afternoon from a trip in Austin, and I leave later tonight for vacation. So,
Wow, that's a lot. Oh, I'm so impressed that you're doing this.
same. No, I'm just
Have you been like
excited.
running around like mad trying to get, everything ready?
Yes, I both love how thoughtful I can get on the packing end, and I also dislike how thoughtful I can get on the packing end, meaning lists, overstressing myself for something that I shouldn't need to stress about, but
Yes.
also being prepared is really fun for
Oh my
me.
gosh, absolutely. It's yeah, I hope you have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
They are it's so good to be on vacation, and it is for me very stressful getting ready to go, and the return can be a little overwhelming too, but man is it needed. It's just we all
Yes.
need time away from work.
Yes, I did a podcast last year in terms of how uncomfortable it is to take a rest, like to rest and to take pause. And I think it's on a day-to-day level, but it's also on a seasonal level, like 365 years, 365 days, to be expected to work consistently is like
Yes.
nature doesn't even do that. Nature has
It's too
seasons of
much.
rest. It's
That's
too
right.
much.
It's too much. And you're much more focused and your energy is better if you take time away. I'm lecturing to myself right now too. So,
I support you.
uh-huh. Thank you. Okay, it's 11:30, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody tuning in, and thank you for being with us today. I want to apologize. We had 2 weeks in a row where we missed, um, one for technical issues, and then the next week one for a family emergency. We lost a dog in my family last week, and so I was dealing with that. So anyway, we're back, and hopefully, no more stuff keeps us from having these every week. I enjoy them so much, and I know some of you really tune in every week. So thank you for that. All right, I'm Libby V, nonprofit champion and founder of Libby V and Associates. And through visioning and strategy work, leadership coaching, fundraising support, and organizational and board development, our nonprofit leader clients successfully raise more money, have more impact with the work they do, and feel better about it and are much more balanced in their work personal life. But not all nonprofits can afford to hire a consultant. So I created the Nonprofit Coffee Talk truly as a way to provide some great content, helpful information, and connections to other experts. And I did that so I could get to as many nonprofit people as possible. I hope that you find it useful. I'm always open to your suggestions for topics you'd like to have us discuss or speakers. And if you'd like to be on as a guest, please let me know. I'd be thrilled to have you on. So today I'm excited to have as a guest Brenda Herrera Moreno, founder and CEO of Invisible Paradigms. And today, although her work is broader than this, but it always includes DEI and anti oppression work. That's just hardwired in her DNA. So, we're going to talk about the peaks and valleys of engaging with DEI and anti oppression work at the organizational level. So, welcome, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Hola, comunidad. I am really excited to be here. At Invisible Paradigms, we facilitate transformative spaces for white allies and majority white organizations. And through there's so many different ways to engage with social change. There is volunteer work, direct action, mutual aid, something that we saw 2 years ago,
Mhm.
be organized around the pandemic. And there's also the personal awareness, the education, and which encompasses like changing habits and rehearsing alternatives.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so that is I wouldn't say it's my passion, meaning I'm not passionate about social justice. I think as a person of color, it's not a hobby that I can be passionate about, but I
Right.
am passionate about the skills that I've learned that I harness to facilitate our conversation where people have a mirror reflected, um,
Mhm.
and then walking through that door right after. So we focus on navigating uncomfortable generative conversations.
Mhm.
None of our work is shame based. And I think that was something also we're speaking to from like the years of social justice movement being going from like
Yes.
political correctness to all these iterations of our collective, majority collective, making sense of their place in social justice. But I'm really excited to share my experiences that I've had in the past 3 years or in the past 5 years since starting Invisible Paradigms, where I see organizations suddenly be activated to the moment and
Yes.
feel like fire underneath their seats to get a place at the table, get a place of being skilled or adaptive. And I think the peaks and valleys is a great title to understand like it's okay to have a variety of terrain in
Mhm.
your work as an organization. And just like we should be responsible for land, an organization should be responsible for navigating and assessing everything that involves engaging with DEI at the
Mhm.
different levels of the organization.
That's right. Yeah, it should be in the DNA of the organization, right? It should be part of everything everybody's doing, thinking, talking about, for, I don't know, all the things. So that was just beautifully said. I
Thank you.
love the way you said all that. That was amazing. Um, so a little bit about Brenda. Brenda identifies as an anti-oppression practitioner, born in Mexico City, a beautiful city, but partially raised in India, traveled the world. What? Okay, I want to hear more about that. Was in middle school in South Carolina, high school in Wales, and college in Massachusetts. Whew. After Hampshire College, Brenda experienced diverse roles in advocacy as a youth program coordinator at a refugee resettlement organization, later as a bilingual counselor for survivors and victims of intimate partner violence, and finally as a peer recovery coach. Brenda identifies as a queer transnational woman of color. And you're definitely transnational. That's a quite an adventure you've been on. I love that.
Yeah.
And we could do a whole other discussion about that. I think that's fascinating. Um, I love that you have all of that experience of all those different cultures and stuff. It's really must really inform how you move about in the world, I would
Mhm.
assume.
Absolutely. It's been, I think, the place where I started to get a sense of self in relationship to to my place in community was when I got to United States. But it like intersected or it crossed paths between age, so being 11, but also coming into South Carolina, which was racially um, palpable, like the way that people interacted with each other. And it's also middle school, well, it's elementary school. So there's all sorts of social interactions with who you relate to and how people relate to you.
Sorry, I hope you all can't hear that background noise. My dog is being very active right now, rolling around on the floor. Sorry about that if you can hear it. Um, So let's go ahead and get started on our topic for today anyway. And I invite you to come back, Brenda. I think you have a ton, I think we could talk for many sessions. So I want to invite
Be
you to
honored.
get scheduled back again. And we continue this conversation. So this is such important work for everybody to be doing. And they need to be on a journey. It's not really a destination, I think. I think it's a journey of, of sort of this DEI thing, right? And we've added a couple letters onto the end of that. But the important part of that is that you're on the journey and always working on things, right, everybody? So I just want to ground us a little bit in, when, after George Floyd was murdered, there was a flurry of activity, and not, we all, heard about it, saw it, and it caused many of us to want to act, like to want to do something, right? And so there was a flurry of activity then, and I saw a lot of nonprofit organizations doing things like putting statements on their websites and things like that. But I wonder, then if they continued on this journey, on this path of this DEIB work, right? And so I wonder if we could talk a little bit about that, about, what should nonprofit boards and staff be doing? And, I've heard a lot of boards say, well, we just need to go through some training and then we'll be all set. We'll be DEI friendly. We'll be good. And I would love to have that conversation, because I've heard that so many times. And my answer, of course, is no, not really. There's more to it than that. So I would love to hear from you, though. And I know our audience would too.
I'm running through a list of reasons why that may not be the best place to start. And that list encompasses, I think, three key areas. One is timing, especially like you mentioned in 2020, but even before that in 2016 and 2018, and before that in 2015 with Michael Brown being shot. And before that, so like there's moments in history in the United States where the nation reckons with systems that are perpetuating harm and people who enact that or are sanctioned to do that. And I think what was different for me this past 2 years, 3 years now, is like you mentioned, the resources being funneled into this one area. And I also hesitate to call it like an industry. But it is a community, a group of people, and it feels like a really loud room for everyone, for the people that are consulting and providing services, but also for the clients and organizations that are looking. It almost feels like have you ever done those bingo cards as a warm up or icebreaker? Like you go around and everyone's yelling like, "Does anyone have this? Does anyone have this?" And you get people to sign. There's not wonderful, but there's a certain chaos that happened. And so timing is really important to understand. Is there a sense of urgency and activation that you're being pushed or feel propelled to do this work right now?
Mm-hmm.
So taking a look at what caused you to come into this conversation of DEI or search. With organizations, timing is also really important, because when they come in contact with me as an anti-oppression consultant and facilitator, I may be able to pick up on some of those urgencies and stress that are good for people to show up in their room, but aren't conducive to long-term impact, because people are looking for that training to satisfy. And sometimes I have seen organizations not navigate conflict very well, sort of that fire element of an organization where there's tension and heat and there isn't a way out, and all these other things of professionalism kick up the perspectives of seeing someone as good or bad. And so when organizations come to me and they want the training, it might not be the best thing to do, because there's unresolved interpersonal dynamics in the organization. It's not good for anyone, for the people that are on the receiving end and haven't addressed or had a process, especially in regards to like identity. But it's also not good for us to come in and provide content that you're investing with us on and have it go nowhere because people
Yeah.
are paying attention to another thing. So timing is really important to understand, both
Mm-hmm.
in the national or collective, but
Mm-hmm.
also in your micro ecosystem that is your organization.
Yeah.
So that'd be one of the three things I would just say.
Good. Yeah, that's a really important one too. Um, I love your comment about, like education is always good, right? That's part of this journey is educating yourself. But if you have some unresolved conflicts that are right there, and people are around the table with that internal struggle, it's not the time to do a training, right? It's the
Mhm.
time to do. I like your word reckoning, and resolving those
Yeah.
issues. So go ahead. Hmm.
Yeah, the second thing I would say would be sort of the why and the purpose of why you're showing up to knock on someone's door, figuratively, a business that does this work
Hmm.
and ask for services, because I think a lot of people got to this to understand the value of it. It's good to to engage in social justice, right? We know that's
Yeah.
morally good, that is beneficial. Um, but the why and purpose also has to be confronted with. Not necessarily that you need to justify why you are going to engage in social justice, but like, is this the right thing to do? Do you understand why? And it was again the catch of the last 3 years where a lot of people said, "Yeah, this is great. We're going to do that, and we're going to just generate mission statements. We're going to put that black square on our Instagram. We're
Yep.
going to host conferences. We're going to hire all these people." Um, and so, are you grabbing it? They're all interconnected, right? So, are you going toward DEI anti-oppression because because it's important? Yes, but what about it are you looking for?
Yeah.
Many, many times I've seen organizations that have asked their members, like, what would you like to learn? And sometimes the right kind of adaptive, personal, committed organization will do that listening tour first and be very transparent with everyone that
Hmm.
they're coming in contact with to say, this is what I think we need. This is what our community is saying we need. And the consultant should be able to say yes and or no but. And I think the moments that I've had to say no is when um, the organization has done a listening tour of some kind. So, like asking people, lots of surveys and audits were launched in the past
Hmm.
3 years.
Yep.
And then the organization leadership and board either choose not to invest or re-ask people what they want. And DEI is held up by people. Organizations are
Yes.
held up by people. So imagine being
Yeah.
asked 3 times what you want to do, and then either it's an exhausting process.
It kills
Um,
morale. It wears people out.
it
It's
wears people
frustrating.
down. So even before we come into me as a consultant coming to an organization, I'm focused on a harm reduction approach, meaning
Yeah.
what can we take the time with to catch up with you, to learn,
Hmm.
to ask the right questions, not the perfect questions, but the questions underneath or the questions in between, to understand why this particular training matters or why this partnership is going to help or why looking at policy is going to be the first priority. Um,
That's
so,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
Wrestling with that is a great exercise too. Like it's very meaningful to just ask, why do we want to do this? What is our motivation? And what's the purpose? What do we want to get out of it? And even if they don't have the answer at first, that's okay. It's just like keep figuring it out, keep digging
Hmm.
in. And I think that
Yeah.
that's for any change that's going to happen, right? You should understand the why and the purpose. So I love that.
And I wonder to anyone listening, and I have a question for myself when I come into contact with anyone that has engaged with DEI is like, how's it going now?
Yeah.
How are you maintaining that? How did you navigate those 2 years, if at all?
Mhm.
What are you working on right now? Because I think the room is now connected with each other, but I wonder, in one end, I think the organizations that are have gotten activated, meaning they're new, they're
Mhm.
wanting to be skilled, they want to go on that continuum of getting
Mhm.
adaptive and comfortable. But there's also organizations that still haven't tried or have been burned out for
Yeah.
whatever reasons with DEI. And so, how are things going for you now? Are you
Mhm.
asking yourself the same questions? Are those questions guiding you toward um, a different set of outcomes where you don't really need training, but maybe you need some partnership
Mhm.
just to
Yeah.
touch base occasionally? And that maintenance, I think, kind of expertise would help, I believe, will help people be open and honest with where they were,
Yeah.
where they are now, and where they want to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. Are they still on the path? Are they still,
Hmm.
nonprofits are always understaffed and under resourced, and it's kind of, kind of easy, I'll say, to sort of get sidetracked by something, something else. So anyway,
Hmm.
I think it's important to just, yeah, make it part of everything they do and always have it on meeting agendas and, just to check in, like, how are we doing? What are we doing? What do we
Yeah.
need to do next? Right. So anyway, okay. And so what's next?
The third would be the reasons why doing a training as like a checkbox would be resources. We know that nonprofits have a lot of resource scarcity, wanting to be resource abundant, but it
Mhm.
is that it is a system that I think, as much as there are organizations that are trying to move into like a place of coordination with funding, like
Mhm.
sustainability in nonprofit is such an important word, um, to sustain the impact, to sustain the resources. But I think resources is where, specifically talking about money, is where I have seen tension between the people that can provide what the organization may need, but then the organization might be doing that bingo game of just like, yeah, you're the person, but I really need this other person to do it cheaper. And they start pitting DEI professionals against each other, or they might be shopping around for the cheapest option. I know that you that we all want a place, we all want the most affordable thing, because of that long-term sustainable focus that nonprofits leadership want to have. I think in the last 3 years, I've seen people put all their egg money, their money, all their figurative eggs in one basket, one consultant. And that can go really well, or that has gone really badly.
Mhm.
And then they don't have resources for the next cycle, or they have
Mhm.
distrust with DEI altogether. So the impact, I think, affects both people in that party, and I also think resources. Um, I don't think we should approach DEI through a lens of money, but rather as a lens of impact,
Yeah.
and relationship, meaning partnership,
Mhm.
meaning in 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, I may invest with someone that really understands my organization. That if we do trainings, if we execute the training, then the curriculum will be fully aligned, um, and not short-ended. So
Mhm.
resource is something that both in time and in money, I think have
Mhm.
caused a variety of emotions for everyone in that loud room
Yeah.
to pick up the pen and rush around and find the right person.
Yeah.
And you can't put, I think, a capitalist spin on something like this work that surpasses generations, that surpasses moments in history. It's
Mhm.
not a trend, and I think sometimes that's where approaching it
Exactly.
with money tends to catch people and like, well, it's a trend now, so I'll invest, but I won't be interested in later, or I'll do it later when I have time. And it starts
It's
to become DEI in a nice to have versus a
yeah.
must have bucket.
Yeah, and it's also not like a task, where you're like, check, we did the DEI work. So, you brought up a really good issue, which is, not everybody can do DEI consulting or coaching.
Hmm.
And and it is, nonprofits do like everybody else, build a relationship with a consultant and they're like, hey, can you also help us with our DEI stuff? And so there's that problem. And I also have seen DEI consultants apply a cookie cutter approach where they have like a DEI plan that they facilitate putting together with an organization, and and then they're like, there you go, now you know what
Hmm.
you need to do, and so I think you have to be careful of both those things, and probably more actually, but those are two of the things I've seen that didn't work real well.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
believe that, earlier before we got on the live, we were talking about the seasons as being a key guide to how we should also take rest. There's not perpetual summer that exhausts the soil, that is incredibly extractive. We need winters, we need to compost, we need to harvest, we need to
Mm-hmm.
ideate. So there are seasons in an organizational year. Similarly
Mm-hmm.
with DEI, there are elements to effective diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So that may bring a different lens to look at, oh, if there's heat, there's conflict. What is generative conflict? Air is air is what we breathe. That relates to culture. Is there a place in culture that we need to start first? And we know that all of these natural elements need each other to grow that, and be able to harvest. So DEI, I think it's also people that education piece that I do so much and I care for. I care to do
Mm-hmm.
it well. Is that education when people come and meet me?
Yeah.
It's a conversation to say, I see you. This is hard work. This is heart work too, in terms of you're coming because the people I meet are either really passionate, they've done the work before 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and they see themselves in a position of power to create
Mm-hmm.
change. So I think supporting the person in front of me that has gone through all of these seasons of their allyship, perhaps, is also to connect them with all of these other elements that are part of the organization and just place
Mm-hmm.
them in where they may be currently. What element do we need to cultivate first? Or what element do we need to um, collaborate with others to make a very healthy organizational climate for diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, it's really about, if you're going to hire somebody to help facilitate you through this process, right? It's they need to understand you and the other people that are involved in
Mm-hmm.
your organization, and be able to work from that, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, and so thank you for saying that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just thanking you. Just appreciating this moment with you.
Yeah, and I would love to chat with you. I hope will you stay on for 2 minutes after we
Of
end
course.
the broadcast? I'd just love to touch base with you and bring up a couple of things. So okay, so I want to start winding us down just a little bit. I really do want to do this again. To talk more about it, because it's just so important, and it's I think it's complicated for some people. I think they just don't know where to start, and want to do something, but they don't know how to get started. And this is really important information that you're sharing about how to do that, and what to think about. So um,
Yeah.
I wonder what you have coming up, if there's anything you have coming up that our audience might be interested in.
Absolutely. So you can follow us on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active, and my personal
Okay.
LinkedIn page. That's where I drop these nuggets of reflection and observation that I see as I connect and interact with current and prospective clients. Um, and we also have our anti-oppression cohort for white allies. So this is a community of white allies who come in over 2 months to be in relationship with one another. So it's like personal allyship transformation and lateral. So you have a mighty community of other people across the spaces of where you may be. We do them virtual and in person. So keep an eye out. You can sign up to our cohorts listserv, and you can find that listserv to sign up on our website. And we do have, today is June. In July, we will have a mini series for anyone in nonprofits with HR professionals. Many other organizations also started DEI coordinator positions, brand new positions that were bottlenecked with a lot of these efforts. So this is a space for board members as well and leadership to learn about these elements of effective DEI. But be in touch. I'd love to stay connected with any of you. And thank you so much, Libby, for having me today.
Oh my gosh, this has been fantastic. So I put your LinkedIn link in there. Do you want me to put your other, your Facebook and Instagram as well?
We are, yeah,
Or just
sure,
the
you can do
LinkedIn,
that.
whichever you
LinkedIn,
want.
let me put the website because all of those
Yeah, that would be great. What is your website?
It is www.invisibleparadigms.com. And
Does it have the period in it? Like your, okay.
it doesn't.
Okay, invisibleparadigms.com. That's great. I'm putting it in there. And this has been wonderful. I'm so grateful for your time and your expertise. I appreciate that so much. Can't wait to have more conversation with you. For everybody out there, please join us next week when our guest will be Sabrina Walker Hernandez, President and CEO of Supporting World Hope. And she's going to discuss how to engage your board in fundraising year round. So that should be a good topic too. And tune in every Thursday if you'd like to look at past episodes. I have a YouTube channel that you can visit, and I'll post that in here too. That's a good place to go and look for topics that you might be interested in. And other than that, and I have a new newsletter that we just sent the first episode or first issue of today. So I invite you to check that out. So I'll post those all on my different social media channels, and look forward to seeing you soon. All right, take care,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.